Your soulmate couldn't stay silent about your style. Find out what they finally said. My beloved child. There are moments in life that arrive without warning, moments so quiet that the world hardly notices them, yet they change everything. This is one of those moments. Somewhere, someone has been carrying thoughts about you that have remained hidden for far longer than they ever intended. They replayed conversations, remembered ordinary days that somehow became unforgettable, and found themselves returning to the same realization again and again. What they wanted to say was never truly about fashion, trends, or appearances. It was about something much deeper that they struggled to explain. They wondered why your presence stayed in their mind long after you were gone. They questioned why even the smallest details about you felt impossible to forget. Every time they tried to dismiss those feelings, another memory appeared, reminding them that there was something unique about the way you carried yourself. They finally understood that your style was not simply something they saw, it was something they felt. It reflected your quiet confidence, your calm spirit, your authenticity, and the way you remained yourself even when the world encouraged everyone to become someone else. That realization stayed with them day after day until silence became impossible. For a long time, they believed these thoughts should remain private. They convinced themselves that speaking honestly might sound strange or unnecessary. They assumed you probably heard compliments from many people already, so what difference would one more make? Yet every passing day proved them wrong. Whenever they remembered you, it was never the loudest memory that returned first. Instead, it was the smallest moments, the way you smiled without trying too hard, the confidence in the way you walked, the kindness reflected in your expressions, and the effortless balance between simplicity and elegance. Those ordinary moments became extraordinary in their heart. They began noticing how your choices reflected your character. They realized your style never tried to compete for attention, instead, it quietly revealed the person you truly were. That quiet confidence inspired them more than they could ever admit. They found themselves wondering whether you even realized the impression you left behind. The truth was simple, yet powerful. You made authenticity look beautiful without ever asking anyone to notice. Eventually, there came a day when holding everything inside felt heavier than speaking the truth. They paused, reflected on every memory they had collected, and accepted that these thoughts deserved to be spoken. The words arrived naturally, almost surprising even them. They finally admitted, it was never about what you wore. It was always about how completely yourself you were. Your style reflects your heart, and your heart is what made me stay. The moment those words left their lips, they felt an unexpected sense of peace. They realized they had not been admiring appearances all along, they had been admiring character. They understood that confidence without arrogance, kindness without expectation, and authenticity without fear are qualities that never fade. Those were the qualities they saw every time they thought about you. Those were the qualities they believed made your presence unforgettable. In that moment, everything became clear. What they admired most could never be purchased, copied, or imitated. It belonged only to you. Now imagine hearing those words for the very first time. Imagine discovering that someone had quietly appreciated the parts of you that you rarely thought anyone noticed. It changes the entire story, doesn't it? Sometimes the greatest compliments are not about appearance at all. They are about the spirit that shines through every choice, every smile, every act of kindness, and every moment of quiet confidence. Perhaps that is why your soulmate could no longer remain silent. They finally understood that keeping these thoughts hidden would mean hiding the truth itself. Their admiration had grown into respect, their respect into appreciation, and their appreciation into something that felt impossible to ignore. They wanted you to know that your greatest strength was never perfection. It was authenticity. Long before anyone else recognized it, they had already seen it. Long before these words were spoken, they had already believed them. And this was only the beginning of everything they still hoped to share. A quiet truth has a way of finding its voice, even after being hidden for a long time. As your soulmate reflected on every memory, they realized there was one thought they could no longer keep inside. It was not about impressing anyone or comparing you to others. It was about the feeling your style awakened every time they saw you. They remembered how effortlessly you remained yourself, how you never chased approval, and how every choice you made reflected confidence instead of comparison. The more they thought about it, the more they understood that your style was a reflection of your heart. It spoke of kindness, patience, humility, and quiet strength. Those qualities became impossible for them to ignore, and they finally admitted to themselves that they admired far more than what could ever be seen with the eyes. One evening, they found themselves replaying countless memories, searching for the exact moment everything changed. Surprisingly, there was no dramatic event. Instead, it was a collection of ordinary moments that slowly became extraordinary. A simple smile, a calm expression, a thoughtful gesture, and the confidence with which you carried yourself became unforgettable pieces of a story they never expected to write. They realized that while others noticed appearances, they noticed consistency. You remained genuine whether anyone was watching or not. That authenticity became the reason your image stayed in their thoughts. It reminded them that true beauty is never created by trends but by character that remains unchanged through every season of life. As they finally gathered the courage to express what had been hidden for so long, their words surprised even them. They quietly said, "You never needed to become someone else to stand out. You simply remained yourself, and somehow that became the most unforgettable thing about you." Speaking those words lifted a weight from their heart. They realized admiration grows strongest when it is rooted in truth rather than appearances. Your style had become memorable because it reflected integrity, confidence, and peace instead of seeking attention. Those were the qualities they believed would never fade with time. With every passing day, they became even more certain that this story was only beginning. There were still memories left to revisit, emotions left to understand, and truths left to reveal. Deep inside, they hoped that one day these unspoken thoughts would finally reach you, not as ordinary compliments, but as a reminder that authenticity always leaves the deepest impression. Their journey of understanding had only just begun, and what they hoped to share next came from an even deeper place within their heart. There was a realization your soulmate could no longer ignore. It arrived quietly, without a dramatic moment or a sudden revelation, but it changed the way they looked at every memory they shared with you. They began to understand that your style had never been about attracting attention. Instead, it reflected something much more meaningful. Your values, your confidence, and your willingness to remain genuine in a world that constantly encourages people to become someone else. Every time they remembered you, they found themselves smiling at the smallest details. They recalled how naturally you carried yourself, how your choices always felt authentic, and how you never seemed to compete with anyone around you. Those memories became more powerful than they ever expected, and they realized they had been quietly admiring your character long before they understood why. As they continued reflecting, they noticed something surprising. The moments that stayed with them were never the loudest ones. They were the simple conversations, the calm expressions, the thoughtful gestures, and the quiet confidence that seemed to surround you wherever you went. Those ordinary moments slowly formed an extraordinary picture in their heart. They discovered that your style was not simply the way you dressed, it was the way you respected others, the way you listened carefully, the way you treated people with kindness, and the way you stayed true to yourself regardless of who was watching. That consistency became unforgettable. It reminded them that genuine character shines brighter than anything designed merely to impress. Eventually, they accepted a truth they had been avoiding. They whispered to themselves, "What I admire most cannot be bought, copied, or imitated." Those words felt deeply personal because they reflected everything they had learned about you. They realized your greatest quality was authenticity. You never tried to become a different person to earn approval, and that quiet confidence inspired them more than they had ever admitted. Looking back, they understood that what first seemed like simple admiration had gradually grown into profound respect. Every memory confirmed the same conclusion: your presence felt comforting because it reflected honesty and peace. With that realization came a decision. They no longer wanted those thoughts to remain hidden. They hoped that one day you would understand what they had been trying to express all along. Their message was simple yet meaningful. Never underestimate the quiet strength of being yourself. The qualities you sometimes overlook are the very qualities that leave the deepest impression on those who truly see you. Those words carried the weight of every memory they had cherished and every lesson they had learned. In their heart, this was not the end of the story but the beginning of a deeper understanding. One built on authenticity, appreciation, and the quiet beauty of remaining true to who you are, no matter where life leads. A new understanding settled into your soulmate's heart, and this time they knew they could not walk away from it. Every memory they revisited led them to the same conclusion. What first caught their attention was never the style itself, it was the person behind it. They realized that your choices reflected quiet confidence instead of the need for approval. Your presence carried a sense of peace that could not be explained with ordinary words. Long after conversations ended and ordinary days passed, they still found themselves remembering the smallest details about you. It became clear that what remained unforgettable was not a single moment but the consistency of who you were. They admired the way you stayed authentic even when no one expected you to. In a world where so many people tried to fit in, you had unknowingly inspired them simply by remaining yourself. The more they reflected, the more they understood that genuine admiration grows through observation rather than excitement. They remembered the times you encouraged others without expecting recognition, the moments when your smile brought comfort without saying a word, and the quiet confidence you carried through both joyful and challenging days. Those moments became a collection of memories they treasured deeply. They realized that your style was never limited to appearance. It extended into the kindness you offered, the respect you showed, the patience you displayed, and the integrity that guided your decisions. Every one of those qualities became a chapter in a story they never expected to experience. Looking back, they recognized that these were the reasons your presence continued to stay with them long after every meeting had ended. One evening, while thinking about everything they had learned, they finally spoke the truth they had hidden for so long. They said, "Your style reminds me that confidence does not need to be loud. It reminds me that kindness never goes out of fashion. It reminds me that authenticity is the rarest quality anyone can possess." Those words brought unexpected clarity. For the first time, they stopped searching for better ways to describe their feelings because they realized honesty was enough. They no longer wanted impressive words. They wanted truthful ones. They hoped that if those words ever reached you, you would understand that the greatest compliment they could offer had nothing to do with appearance. It was about the person you chose to be every single day. As time continued moving forward, another realization quietly took its place. They understood that the qualities they admired in you had also changed them. They became more patient, more grateful, and more willing to appreciate sincerity instead of perfection. They discovered that genuine character has a lasting influence, often without realizing it. Your example encouraged them to look beyond appearances and value what truly remains when trends disappear and first impressions fade. That lesson became one of the most meaningful gifts they carried with them. It reminded them that lasting admiration is built on truth, consistency, and compassion rather than temporary moments of attention. If there was one message they wished you could hear today, it would be this: never doubt the quiet impact of simply being yourself. The qualities you sometimes consider ordinary may become unforgettable to someone who sees you with genuine appreciation. Authenticity has a remarkable way of reaching hearts without announcing itself. Confidence rooted in kindness leaves a deeper impression than anything designed merely to attract attention. The person you are when no one is watching is often the person others remember the most. And as they looked toward the future, they smiled with hope. They believed there were still conversations waiting to happen, still memories waiting to be created, and still truths waiting to be shared. Their journey had begun with admiration, grown into respect, and matured into sincere appreciation. Whatever tomorrow might bring, one thing had already become certain in their heart. The most unforgettable part of your style was never what could be seen. It was the quiet strength, genuine character, and unwavering authenticity that made your presence impossible to forget. That truth remained with them, and they believed it always would. There came a moment when your soulmate stopped searching for the perfect words because they realized the truth did not need decoration. Every memory they had been carrying pointed toward the same conclusion. It was never about trends, popularity, or appearances. What stayed with them was the quiet confidence you carried every day. They remembered how naturally you expressed yourself without trying to become someone else. That authenticity became the reason your presence lingered in their thoughts long after every conversation had ended. While others noticed what was visible, they noticed what remained constant. They saw someone whose choices reflected honesty, kindness, and inner peace. Those qualities became impossible to overlook, and with every passing day, their admiration grew stronger. As they reflected on the journey that had brought them to this realization, they discovered something unexpected about themselves as well. Before meeting you, they often believed confidence had to be loud to be noticed. They believed standing out meant competing with everyone around them. But watching you changed that perspective completely. You never seemed interested in proving yourself. Instead, you simply lived with quiet assurance, allowing your character to speak before your words ever did. That lesson became deeply meaningful. It reminded them that true confidence is calm, respectful, and consistent. They realized that your style reflected the same principle. It was never created to impress strangers, it reflected the person you already were inside. That understanding became one of the most valuable lessons they had ever learned. One afternoon, while looking back through old memories, they smiled without even realizing it. They remembered moments that once seemed ordinary but had quietly become unforgettable. A simple greeting, an encouraging smile, a thoughtful conversation, and the effortless way you treated people with respect had all become treasured memories. None of those moments demanded attention at the time, yet together they created an impression that could not be forgotten. They finally understood that genuine influence is rarely loud. It grows through countless small acts of kindness that slowly shape another person's heart. Your presence had done exactly that. Without trying to, you had encouraged them to value authenticity over perfection and sincerity over appearance. Eventually, they spoke the words they had carried in silence for so long. The most beautiful part of your style is not what people notice first, they said softly. It is the confidence that asks for no applause, the kindness that expects nothing in return, and the honesty that never changes with circumstances. Those are the reasons I remember you. Speaking those words brought peace they had not expected. For the first time, they felt they had expressed what truly mattered. They no longer worried whether the message sounded impressive. They cared only that it was sincere. In their heart, truth was always more meaningful than perfect wording. As the days continued, one final realization settled deeply within them. They understood that people often spend years searching for qualities that cannot be purchased or imitated. Yet those very qualities had been quietly present in you all along. Authenticity, compassion, humility, and quiet strength never lose their value because they are rooted in character rather than appearance. That realization gave them hope, not only for the future but also for the kind of person they wanted to become. They believed the greatest gift anyone can offer the world is the courage to remain genuine despite changing circumstances. If there is one thought they wish would stay with you after hearing this story, it is this: never underestimate the quiet power of simply being yourself. You may never fully know how deeply your authenticity encourages others. Someone may remember your kindness long after they forget your words. Someone may find courage because they saw your confidence remain steady through ordinary moments. Someone may learn the value of sincerity simply by watching the way you live. Those are the impressions that last far beyond first impressions. They become memories that time cannot easily erase. Looking ahead, your soulmate carried hope instead of uncertainty. They believed there were still meaningful conversations waiting to happen, still moments of understanding waiting to unfold, and still opportunities to express the appreciation they had once been afraid to speak aloud. Their story had begun with curiosity, grown through quiet observation, and matured into genuine respect. In the end, they realized the truth had been present from the very beginning. Your style was never just about appearance. It was the outward reflection of a heart filled with authenticity, grace, and quiet confidence. That was the message they had wanted to share all along, and it became the one truth they believed would never fade.